tricky है आज का, because today we are going to discuss about the symmetry of the viruses. Okay, so the more complex one is icosahedron symmetry. So I guess by just looking at the recording or by looking at the PPT, you guys won't be able to understand it. Okay. So let me see. Now, can you see the PPT?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you see the first slide?
Yes,
History,
ma'am.
evolution, and structure of the viruses. So before we talk about the symmetry of the viruses, we should know how these viruses were evolved. So the problem when we look at the evolutionary details of the viruses, uh, yeah, of the viruses, we do not have enough. We do not have any fossil record. Okay. So and then the biochemical and genetic information may be needed to, if we really want to create a virus history like how they were evolved. So as you are aware, bacteria are evolved from a single ancestor, uh, LUCA, but in case of the virus, they do not have any single common ancestors. Okay, so the hypothesis is that about virus origin is not fully accepted in the field, like how they were evolved, but there are two theories regarding their evolution. So the first theory is the regressive hypothesis. That means that before becoming a virus, they were actually either eukaryotic or prokaryotic cell. Okay, and then later these eukaryotic or prokaryotic cell degenerated to become the viruses. Just like fleas, they are descendant from the flies by the loss of the wings. Okay, so the virus are the degenerated or devolutionized from these eukaryotic or prokaryotic cells. Another theory is the escapist or the progressive hypothesis, which says that some nucleic acid might have been transferred accidentally into a cell of a different species and might have survived and replicated, because what is the virus actually? Just a nucleic acid. Okay, so that is the escape theory, that they enter into the cell of the different species, they were there, they started replicating, so they escape the cell system. So the thing is that we cannot say that viruses have evolved from a single progenitor. Rather than viruses have probably arisen numerous times in the past by one or both mechanism outlined above. It means either by the devolution theory or by the escapist theory. Okay. Another thing is the evolutionary pressure, because in viruses, recombination and mutation frequently happens. So they undergo very frequently with these genetic changes. So with the help of the recombination, they can generate a novel combination of the genes, whereas point mutation occurs with the high frequency. And that is the reason that the viruses, if we have a vaccine for the virus, it may not work, because they evolved so rapidly. They can cause mutation or recombination within themselves that the antibody that has been generated no longer be able to recognize the virus, because it has completely changed. Okay. So the virus, they have the genetic material either in the form of the DNA or RNA, and DNA or RNA can be single stranded or double stranded, or it can be circular or linear form. And then genetic material, it can be segmented, like in different segments it can occur, or it may be located in a one particle. Someone is, let me see. So the genomes vary widely. Like plant viral genomes are they are very small. They are come at the end of this range, and they encode between 1 to 12 proteins. An enzyme specified by the viral genome may be present in the virus particle. Most of these enzymes are concerned with the nucleic acid synthesis. So replication of many viruses takes place in a specific region known as the viroplasm. Okay, and some virus share with certain non-viral nucleic acid molecule, and the property of integration into host cell genome and the translocation from one integration site to another one. So few viruses require the presence of another virus for their replication, and these viruses are known as the dependoviruses, and these dependoviruses need the helper virus. For an example, uh, that is a HDV virus needed hepatitis V virus as the helper. So hepatitis delta virus need hepatitis V virus as the helper virus. So before we go discuss the symmetry of the viruses, I put on these slides over here. The reason is you should know about the energy level of the viruses. Okay. So the virus particles are metastable. What does it mean? It means that the virus may be stable or they may go in an unstable form. So they are in the stable form here. You can see in the picture. Can you see the cursor, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you see here this virion. Virion means a fully infectious particle. So this structure is known as the stable structure. And if virus need to infect a cell from stable stage to, they should undergo the unstable stage. Unstable stage means where genetic material being released by the virion and then get integrated into the host genome. That is why the term metastable is being used, because they transform from stable to unstable form. So this is just showing the previous picture, but here in terms of the energy of the virion particle. So that one here is depicting the virus particle when they are in a stable form. Okay, and the third one when they are in an unstable form. So you can see on the y-axis here is the energy level. So for 3 you can see they have a minimum free energy here. Okay, and that's how symmetry play a role, because they can go from a higher state of energy to the minimum state of energy. So how is this metastability achieved? How they can go from stable form to unstable form? And that can happen only with the help of the symmetrical arrangement of many identical proteins. So what happens, many identical proteins, they are symmetrically organized with the non-covalent bond. And once the virion inside the cell, these structures can open, okay, because these are not permanently bonded together. And they get loosened on infection, and then they release the viral gene. So basically the morphology of the viruses, if we discuss, that also include the symmetry of the viruses. So the viruses are very small in size, 200 to 300 nanometer, and they contain either genetic material as a DNA or RNA. And some proteins are structurals. Like whenever I talk about the structural proteins, means they are providing a structure to the virion. That means the protein shell or the capsomere. And some are non-structurals as a polymerase, because they have RNA dependent RNA polymerase or RNA dependent DNA polymerase. And they have capsid. Some of also have the envelopes and then nucleoid as a, and then shape. They may be spheroid like a adenovirus, or they may be elongated in a shape like a potato virus, or can be coiled like in wheat yellow. Rabies virus has a bullet shaped, and then bacteriophage are filamentous, and then another one is alpha mosaic. They are pleomorphic, means they can adapt to various structures. So in general, the shape of the viruses can be classified into 4 groups: filamentous or helical, like a tobacco mosaic virus; icosahedral, that occurs in a poliovirus or herpes virus; enveloped virus, they do have an envelope derived from the host cell that surround the capsid; and HIV, they are the enveloped virus, and some have a complex symmetry, or they are known as the head and tail viruses that infect bacteria, means bacteriophage. So bacteriophage, their head has a icosahedron symmetry, whereas their tail has a helical symmetry. That's why it is known as a complex symmetry. So if we talk about the size of the viruses, you should be aware of this one, that what does nanometer? Nanometer is 10 to power minus 9 meter. Okay. So here just I'm putting these examples to just have you like visualize how small these viruses are. So this one is a alpha helixin protein on the right hand side, and this is 1 nanometer in diameter. Here this panel is showing the DNA, which is just double in size compared to the alpha helix, means it is 2 nanometer in diameter. 20 nanometer in diameter are the ribosomes. So the smallest virus is the poliovirus. Here, this one, that is 30 nanometer. Whereas the biggest one is the Pandora virus, and they are 1000 nanometer in size. So if we talk about the structure of the viruses, whenever I use the term virion, virion means infectious particle. So infectious particle has a nucleic acid, it has a capsid. So protein coat and nucleic acid together, a term is used, nucleocapsid. And this nucleocapsid may be naked or enveloped. So if it is enveloped, the carbohydrates are derived from the host, okay? And then proteins from the viruses. Lipid is also derived from the host, that is that give flexibility to the envelope. In addition to envelope, some viruses also have a spikes. That means projections on the envelope, and that these spikes, they help viruses to attach to the host cell. Some virus also have a glycoproteins, and these glycoproteins attach virions or an infectious virus to specific receptor site on susceptible host cell surfaces. So any one of you can give me an example of the virus that has a spikes, guys?
Coronavirus.
Coronavirus, very good. So coronavirus has a spikes, that's how name derived corona. Corona means crown-like projections, okay? And these viruses, they have single-stranded RNA, positive strand, okay? So this is just to give you an idea about the morphology of or the structure of the virus. So here, this one inner core is the nucleic acid. It may be DNA or RNA. And then outer, this nucleic acid is encapsulated by the capsid, okay? So the protein shell. That protein shell is made up of these units. You can see these are known as the capsomeres. So capsomeres together, they form the capsid, and this is the envelope virus. So envelope is here with the spikes. So this is just to have you an idea. The previous slide I discussed about the virus size and shapes. So this is E. coli. It's human red blood cells, and the reason for putting the bacteria to have you an idea how small are the viruses. So you can see adenovirus 19 nanometer, and I earlier showed you the smallest one is the poliovirus 30 nanometer. More like it's more close to in structure to ribosome, okay? And then bacteriophage, Ebola virus is 970 nanometer, and the Pandora virus are 1000, okay? So viruses, they may have an envelope. If they have an envelope, they are known as the enveloped viruses. Some are the naked viruses. So this is the covering composed of proteins derived from the viruses, whereas lipid and carbohydrate of the envelope derived from the host. And it has a smaller subunit. Smaller subunit of envelope is known as the peplomers, okay, like in herpes virus or HIV. If they do not, they are known as the naked virus. Protein shell is known as the capsid. It is made up of the subunits known as the capsomere, and then capsid possesses antigenic properties. Okay, so these are the structures, naked virus structures. You can see this is a capsid here. So this is icosahedron symmetry. This one is a helical symmetry, and these are the enveloped virus here. So just the same slide, I'm putting more clearer picture here. So these are the enveloped virus with the icosahedron symmetry of the capsid. So whenever I talk, guys, about the icosahedron or helical symmetry, that means I'm talking about the capsid symmetry. Okay, so don't get confused. So they have this icosahedron symmetry of the capsid. This is the lipid bilayer that give flexibility to the envelope. And they have a structural protein. They have the structural proteins here, and then glycoproteins are present on the surface of these viruses. So these enveloped viruses, some have a icosahedron symmetry here, and some may have a helical nucleocapsid. Okay, whereas in unenveloped virus, there is no envelope, just a capsid and the genome. So structural proteins means we are talking about the capsids. Okay, so capsid, what it does, it provide a protection to the genome, an assembly of a stable protective protein shell, and they do specific recognition and packaging of the nucleic acid genome, as well as interaction with the host cell membrane to form the envelope. So these are the function of the structural proteins. So now I'm coming to more complex part, and if you have any query or question, you can ask me in between. Okay. So we are talking about the capsid symmetry. So capsid is formed from the subunit. Okay, and this subunit, you can see VP1, VP2, VP3. Here I'm showing just an example. So these proteins are the single folded polypeptide chain, and they make the structural unit, and these are known as a protomer. Okay, and they are the asymmetric unit, guys. You have to remember these are the asymmetric unit. Then the question is, how this asymmetric unit giving this symmetry? And that is the basic of the different symmetry of the viruses. Okay, so they are the capsid is built from one or more subunits. Here you can see 1, 2, 3. 3 proteins are there. Okay. And then capsid is a protein shell surrounding genome. Nucleocapsid means nucleic acid plus capsid. Okay, so now we are coming up with the metastable that we discussed, that from stable to unstable. And if you can go with the graph, I showed 1, 2, and 3 figures. Okay, the 3 one is the state of the minimum free energy when the viruses are unstable. Okay. So maximum number of interaction is formed between the subunit of a virus particle. Okay, so means that they are the different subunits, and if we really want to make a virus particle, a maximum number of interaction should be formed between these subunits. Okay, and these subunits are they are asymmetric. Okay, so what happens? It can happen only the maximum number of interaction between these asymmetric unit happen only when they are arranged symmetrical. That's how symmetry word is very, very, very important whenever we talk about the structure of the viruses. Okay, so sum up again, subunits that make the protein shell, they are asymmetric. So if we want to make a virus particle, there should be a maximum number of interaction between these asymmetric units. And how it can happen? Only when these subunits are arranged in a symmetric formation. Okay, then only maximum number of interaction can happen. Guys, clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so coming again, building virus particle symmetry is key. Whenever there is no symmetry, virus particles cannot be formed. So Casper and Klug in 1962, they gave up this virus particles not a formula, a theory that the symmetry is key for that. So what happened? The capsid, they arranged as a hexamer or a pentamers. Okay, identical protein subunits are distributed with helical symmetry for rod-shaped viruses. So there are rules for the self-assembly. So if subunits are getting self-assembled, there are two rules. Each subunit has identical bonding contact with the neighbors. That means I can show you here in this picture. Here you can see, guys, these comma here we are depicting one protein. Okay, and this is a triangular. So in this triangular, how many proteins are there? 1, 2, 3. And you can see they have a symmetry here. Either this is a head, this is a tail. So all proteins are here. You can see head to tail conformation. Can you see this one? So they are following a symmetry, guys, here. It's not like that all proteins are putting together. So symmetry is very important to form a virus particle. Okay, coming back. So each subunit has identical bonding contact with its neighbor, and these bonding contacts are usually non-covalent. That is why the virus particle can loosen up, okay, when it gets inside the host cell. Symmetry and self-assembly. Many capsid protein can self-assemble into virus-like particles. So coming up here, we are talking about the icosahedron capsid organization. Okay. So here you can see this triangular. Okay. So an icosahedron is a polyhedron. What is the meaning of polyhedron, guys? That means it is a three-dimensional structure. You can see a triangular. Whenever we use a triangular word, what does it mean? Triangular, equilateral triangle. Equilateral triangle means all three sides are equal. You can see this, this, and this. All three sides are equal in length. There is no discrimination. So if you rotate this structure, you will get the same thing. Okay, because they have all three sides are the equal. So an icosahedron is a polyhedron having 20 equilateral triangular faces and 12 vertices. What does it mean? This is a one triangle. Okay, so we put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 triangles are in the middle. Okay, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the top and 5 on the bottom. What happens when you put these triangles that are on the top, you fold them together? What would happen? It will give something like this structure. And the same with the bottom one. Are you able to understand, guys, or not? Hello? Guys, समझ में आ रहा है? Can I move ahead? Otherwise, I can stop and tell you again.
Yes, ma'am. समझ में आ रहा है, ma'am.
किसी को कुछ प्रॉब्लम अगर हो तो मैं वीडियो पे आके then I can show you.
आ रहा है मैम, समझ में
आ रहा है? ठीक है. Okay. So you can see there are the 20 equilateral triangular are here. Okay. Now vertices. Vertices का mean क्या होता है कि जहां पर these things meet together. Okay. So how many vertices are here, guys? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 middle में है और ये जो 5 है top पर because they are making this one. So one vertex for up one and one for the bottom one. So how many vertices are there? 12 vertices. Okay. So 20 flat triangular faces and 12 vertices are arranged around a sphere and related by 5, 3 and 2-fold axis. What does it mean 5, 4 and 2-fold axis? Let me show you in this picture. Look here. So here 5 triangulars are making this axis. So this is known as the 5-fold axis, guys. Here this is the red triangle. This is a 3-fold axis. 1, 2, 3. And the blue one is a 2-fold axis, 1 and 2. Okay. So this is a 3-fold, this is 5-fold, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-fold symmetry, and this is 2-fold symmetry, 1 and 2. So that's how they can be arranged in a 5-fold, in a 3-fold, or in a 2-fold axis of rotational symmetry. Rotational symmetry का क्या मतलब है कि जब आप उसको rotate करोगे, okay, you will see the same structure. ठीक है, so that is means of the rotational symmetry. with each triangular face hosting 3 proteins. So हर triangular में कितने proteins हैं? 3 proteins हैं. 60 equivalent subunit. कितने triangular हैं? 20 to 3 60. So 60 equivalent subunit हैं. So हम यहाँ सबसे easy icosahedron की symmetry की बात कर रहे हैं. इसमें 20 triangular faces हैं और एक triangular में 3 proteins हैं. ये देखो 1, 2 and 3. I can show you here. Okay, this one. You see, this is a one protein. तो ऐसे 60 identical proteins हैं. एक triangular में 1, 2, 3 identical subunit fit हो गए हैं. और कितने triangular हैं total? 20 triangular हैं. ठीक है, तो कितनी हुई? 60 subunit 20 triangular में इन्होंने अपने आप को fit कर लिया. तो यहाँ पर triangular number है 1. So what is mean of triangular number, guys? Triangular number, it represents the number of protein subunit in an icosahedral viral capsid. So here, satellite plant viruses, they have the easy one. They have 60 identical subunits. ठीक है? But that is not the case. Many viruses, they have more than 60 subunit. So what would happen? That more than 60 identical subunit cannot be placed in such a way that they have strictly equivalent position on an icosahedral surface. So to achieve this, number of subunit increases. What does it mean? Triangular का number तो 20 ही रहेगा guys, लेकिन हर triangular के number जो subunit है उनका number increase हो जाएगा. So for T is to 1, there are 3 proteins. ये है T is equal to 2. So एक जो subunit है वो 2 proteins की बनी हुई है यहाँ पर. ठीक है, तो अगेन यहाँ पर 3 प्रोटीन्स है, बट हर में कितनी है? 2 सब यूनिट है. सो टोटल 6 into 20 120. अगर T स्क्वायर टू 3 है, सो 1 सब यूनिट इज कंपोज्ड ऑफ 3 1 2 3 and one triangular here is containing these 9. So it is more than it's 270. Sorry, 180. Okay, so this is 60, 120, 180, and here you can see it is composed of 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So in one subunit of the triangular there are 7 subunits and T is equal to 7. Okay, so the reason for this one, why it is happening, because the size of the subunit remain the same. That is why there is a minimal distortion from the strict equivalence. So what happened? Only that this one will be divided into more and more and more to accommodate more subunit. Okay. So this is a triangular number. T is the triangular number. So the T can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, etc. Okay. And subdividing an equilateral triangle into say 5 or 8 smaller triangle is not allowed. So how we can calculate the triangular number? It can be calculated T is equal to PF2. So T is a triangular number and F can be 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So P is equal to 1 means H is equal to 1, K is equal to 0. If P is 3 here, then H is 1, K is 1. If P is 7 means protein subunits, then H is equal to 1 and K is equal to 2. So that's how the triangular number can be calculated. So I will show with the same equation here.
मैम ये एक बार दोबारा बता
नहीं
दीजिए.
समझ में आ रहा ना? Look, so I am showing the same equation with the examples here. Okay, so T is equal to 1. Here, what does it mean? H is 1 and K is equal to 0. That it is composed of 60 asymmetric unit and made up of one protein. So T is equal to 1 because it has only one protein. Okay, so H is equal to 1 and K is equal to 0. So T is equal to 1 square plus 1 and then K is equal to 0 here. So that's how you can calculate the triangular number. So here the triangular number is only 1. Okay. H is, have I shown it here? Actually basic simple rule you can forget about the P. It's just a T is equal to H square plus HK plus K2.
मैम ये H और K क्या है?
H और K, let me see, कहीं लिखा हुआ है मैंने. It's a distance between, let me see, HK, H1 and K1, T is equal to 2. 1 square, let me see guys, एक मिनट है ना. So T is equal to PF square. इसमें नहीं है
मैम पहले की किसी स्लाइड में लिखा हुआ था H और K.
पहले की में लिखा हुआ था और आई फॉरगॉट इट.
पहले आप इनके
उसका डिस्टेंस एक मिनट उसमें होगा. लेट मी सी हियर. Because the H and K basically shows the distance from it's not here. The and H and K are zero or positive integers. So that is a T number takes discrete value such an and sub-value equivalent. नहीं. I think that slide is missing from here, guys. It's not here. Give me 1 second, है ना? Okay. Welcome. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 and 2. Okay, guys. So H is the number of unit in a straight line toward next pentagon. That's why I was telling it's a distance. And K is the number of units shifted in either side to reach the next pentagon. So if you look at the like a dextrorotatory and the levorotatory. So let me show you if I can show this picture to you. Can I show picture? है इसमें option? Let me see if I can attach it. Paste. Anyone knows कि इसमें attach कर सकते हैं? Attachment, okay. This is a Google Calendar. Guys, I don't know how can I show you the picture here. Or let me see. Wait, I can share my. Wait. Let me share my. Which one is this one now? Microsoft. Share. Can you see, guys? कैन यू सी माई स्क्रीन?
यस मैम।
दिख रहा है इसमें H और K वाला?
नहीं मैम।
नहीं, एक मिनट,
नो मैम।
एक मिनट। स्क्रीन अभी दिख रहा है?
हाँ मैम, आ रहा है पीछे से।
दिख रहा है अभी?
आपकी स्क्रीन पे आ रही है आवाज दूसरी।
यस मैम, यस मैम।
You can
Yes,
see
ma'am.
this T and this. Okay. So ये देखो ये okay. So H is the number of unit in a straight line. So this is a straight line, guys. ठीक है? Toward next pentagon. So these are the pentagons. ठीक है? K is the number of units shifted in either side to reach the pentagon. So this is a dextro or this is the levo. So because it's a rotational symmetry, so it's more related to the rotational. जैसे आप डायमंड को घुमाओगे ना, चाहे ऐसे देखोगे, ऐसे देखोगे, ऐसे देखोगे, so that is a rotational symmetry. ठीक है? So here, like in this case, H is 4. What does it mean? Like you can see here, ये जो इनकी लाइंस है ना, इससे कंपेयर करके देखो, है ये पेंटागन ही, लेकिन इसको घुमाया, ये ऐसे हुआ. ठीक है? And then again, this is the same conformation. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a 4 times like this. Okay? Here in this case, you can see 1 and then 2 again, it came into this symmetry. So that is showing that how many times or the number of units in the straight line. Okay, so that is the H and K. Another example in this one. Here, because here it is 2. In the straight line, you can see this is a pentagon. You can see the difference in the symmetry. Okay, so 1 and 2. And this one is here, you can see another pentagon. So from this one, 1 and 2, and then from the dextrorotatory is 2 here. So you don't have to go into the detail, but you should know what does it mean H and K whenever we talk about the symmetry of the viruses. Clear हुआ? समझ में आया या नहीं आया, या थोड़ा थोड़ा आया?
नहीं आया मैम।
नहीं आया. ओके, सो लेट मी टेक अनदर क्लास ऑफ यू H and K, क्योंकि मुझे भी बहुत ज्यादा आई एम नॉट एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड इट, बहुत बेसिकली पता है मुझे. ठीक है? सो विद H and K आई हैव टू गो इन डिटेल, तभी मैं तुम लोगों को समझा पाऊंगी. ओके, so let me go with the presentation. और you are guys are confused only with the H and K, बाकी तुम्हें इकोसोहेड्रल सिमेट्री समझ में आ गई है?
Yes, ma'am.
है ना? ठीक है, let me go with the presentation. ओके, सो बेसिकली आप लोगों को ये ध्यान रखना है कि इकोसोहेड्रल कैप्सिड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन 60 सब यूनिट है जो बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर है. ठीक है? जैसे एक सब यूनिट है जो हम 60 की बात कर रहे हैं, उसमें 1 प्रोटीन होती है. ठीक है? एंड एक ट्राइंगुलर में 3 होते हैं आपके, लेकिन यहाँ जब हम 5 प्रोटोमर्स की बात कर रहे हैं, सो 1 2 3 4 5, सो एक प्रोटीन जो है, there are 3 proteins, 1 2 3 proteins, and then they make a 5 protomers, and these 5 protomers they make a capsomere here, and that's how they are arranged in a helical symmetry. So with pentagon there may be a hexagon also. Here you can see यहाँ hexagon भी है और pentagon भी है. ठीक है? So I will take another class of you guys for H and K. Triangular number, that then only you can understand about the triangular number. ठीक है? So T is the one, is the smallest virus particle, that is the satellite tobacco necrosis virus. ठीक है? That is the example of having triangular number 1. now coming up with the helical symmetry. Vandana, are you here? Vandana?
Yes.
Okay. ठीक है. Okay. So helical symmetry, it's seen nucleocapsid of many filamentous and pleomorphic viruses. Okay. So what does it mean, helical symmetry? Basically here. So ये एक सब यूनिट है guys. So 1, 2, 3 तीन सब यूनिट एक टर्न बनाती हैं. ठीक है. And you can see it's a helical turn होते हैं. ठीक है. So helix सब यूनिट और number of unit per turn is the 3. So coming back with this one. So they consist of a helical array of capsid proteins or the protomers wrapped around a helical filament of the nucleic acid. So they make rigid, highly elongated rods or flexible filament, and they can be naked or enveloped. Okay. So example is the tobacco mosaic virus. So I already told you these components are non-symmetric or asymmetric, and they have to arrange in a symmetrical manner. So how they do? This is one protein subunit. This is asymmetric, and you can see they are arranged in this manner. Now they are making a symmetry here. Okay, and this is the helical symmetry. This gives a two-dimensional structure. So it looks like a large number of discs stacked on top of one another, and the result is stacked disc structure. That's how a symmetrical three-dimensional structure can be generated from asymmetrical protein subunits. So example is TMV. Tobacco mosaic virus has a helical symmetry, and TMV subunits are not arranged cylindrically, but they are like in rings or in a helical form. Okay, so the subunit arranged helically, the maximum number of bond can still be formed, and each subunit equivalently bonded, except of course for those at the either end, either at the top or at the bottom end. All filamentous viruses so far examined are helical rather than cylindrical. Okay, and the insertion of the nucleic acid may be the factor governing this arrangement. A helical arrangement offers considerable stability because of the subunit, and this is a greater than would be found with a cylinder which has no linking along the long axis. So here, this is the helical structure you can see. So each turn contains a non-integral number of subunits. I told you in a one turn there is a three that is a protomers, or so producing a pitch of 2.3 nanometer. So here we are talking about the RNA viruses. So RNA is sandwiched internally between adjacent turn of capsid protein, here forming a RNA helix of the same pitch. Okay, 8 nanometer in diameter that extend the length of the virus with 3 nucleotide base in contact with each subunit. So that's how around 2130 protomers per virion cover and protect the RNA. And the complete virus is 300 nanometer long and 80 nanometer in diameter with a hollow cylindrical core of 4 nanometer in diameter. So now coming up with the complex and asymmetrical virus particles. Complex means they may have both of the symmetries. So their capsid is neither purely helical nor purely icosahedral, and they may possess extra structures such as protein tails or a